I've been aware of some of these very talented women you're going to hear this morning, hopefully, with my recent acquisition of a 1912 player piano that is currently installed in the Westford White Church, where I'm recording more Gershwin piano rolls next weekend, and have had 2 previous sessions on that instrument. I also started to amass the women's piano rolls at the same time. Now, I've been aware of them, but I was doing a lot of eBay acquisitions over several months and amassed over 100 of their piano rolls. And when the Bush and Lane, which this is, was fully restored and brought in June 4th of this year, I sat down and started to pianolize through these women's rolls, and it was shocking, because I just didn't know how good these things were, how diverse they were. It's just an extraordinary field. I can't even begin to tell you. And very fortunately, I had a knowledge of certain key people, such as obviously Mae Brown, Zima Randall, Edith Baker, V. Longhurst, Muriel Pollack. These are the people that I talk about in this paper. But so that helped me a lot when I was bidding on these things on eBay. And I just got lucky with a lot of the selections, because keep in mind, these were commercial products. They were done really, really fast. So a lot of this stuff is very dross, basically. So you have to have a lot of these things in order to cull out the good ones. And to compound the problem that we have with this idiom, the player piano roll idiom, they are not, especially the pop rolls, are not in any institution. So you're dealing with collectors, you're dealing with online auctions. The speed with which this field was developed, both musically and technologically, and the sheer number of player pianos and piano rolls that were sold from 1900 to 1930, in fact, all of that was so ubiquitous throughout all of Western culture, and it faded so completely and so fast. It's a testimony to the destructive nature of the modern era, momentum of the modern era, which just clicked in right around that time. So I have to review what a player piano does for most people, because most people don't know what it is. Okay, this is my Bush and Lane, and here's what it is. You can see that here is this brass bar here. It has 88 little holes drilled into it, and here you have the foot pedals. What the foot pedals do is they work with the bellows. The bellows becomes a suction, and what happens, it sucks through those little holes. And when you insert a piano roll here and put it over the tracker bar, and you start foot pumping, it moves across the tracker bar. And when the holes occur, they are connected through a lot of little mechanical devices, which I don't want to explain, to the hammer. And the hammer just throws itself to the string exactly like a human pianist will. You will see all this. I have MP4s coming up, but so that's how it works. And the length, it's all cut into a paper roll. I will show you that too. But I wanted to just show you here, this is really important. You can't see really distinctly, but there are a number of levers and buttons on my instrument. This was a type of an instrument that was the most common in most homes. What you did was you foot pumped, and you could interactively add dynamics through these levers and buttons, and you could, they also worked really well with your foot pumping. There's this interaction between how you deal with these governors of various sorts, and how much air you're pushing through the exhausting through here. It's an art. That's what I want to make clear. And whether people did that in their homes, well, we don't know. But they did install this stuff, and much more importantly, on the piano rolls, they had an expression line which I should show. Okay, next slide. Ah, here's a piano roll. Okay, here it says 80. That is the speed with which the roll editors said you should set with this tempo lever. I should have pointed that out, but you just set it with your little lever here, and it goes 8 feet per minute across the tracker bar. Here you have, the basic dynamics ranging from very soft to very loud, and here's this expression line going up here like this. It's continuous throughout the roll, and it was added by whoever, the editor. This is all disputed right now, but it's there on almost all the rolls, and that you can start soft and it will get louder if you have to follow the line, or you don't have to follow the line. It's there for you if you want to use it, but I use it, by the way. And then here are the notes. You can see here you've got 2 notes, and then you got 2 more notes, and they rolling across. Here is your pedal. So that is the basic setup for the most commonly used player piano of that period. Then later, starting around 1910, the roll companies invented various modifications of this, actually additions to this, that started to introduce automatic dynamics. In other words, you could get louder on one side, you could balance between the hands, and then later the coding was incredible on these reproducing pianos where they were trying to simulate human performance. Now those were automatic machines, so they were for the wealthy. They were very expensive. Some of them cost as much as a house. In the beginning of the player piano era, the music was marked on a master stencil on a purely metronomic basis, just transcribing it from the sheet music, but that's boring. So what the roll editors realized they could do is take the music, basic music, and add more holes, embellish, and fill out, make it just much more interesting, much more active, and that became quite an art form, actually. Then finally, around 1910, or even earlier, but certainly in the U.S., where that's sort of the ground zero of the pop music roll. Yeah, see this? This guy's playing something, and this guy's getting the stencil coming out of it. Now, is this a real photo or is this a fake promotional? I don't know, but they claim they did it. There are some recording machines still around, but the point is you can get a raw, well, if you record into MIDI, if you record your own playing, you notice you're doing brush notes, you notice you're making mistakes, you notice the note timing isn't quite nice. Well, they were able to clean that all up in the in the editing process. And in pop rolls, what they did was called quantization, if you know what that is. You take, say, you take a grid in a piece of paper, in the piano roll itself, or the master, and you had exactly spaced distances between beats and within beats too. The subdivision of the beats, is it 2/3, 1/3, where is it? And they took these raw stencils and squared off things to the nearest slot, essentially. And that accounts for the mechanical quality of player piano roll. And as I said, with reproducing pianos, the ones that were very complex, they were attempting to actually mimic hand-played performance. And let me tell you that even though they came really close, you can never, in this idiom, precisely reconstruct a human performance. Because if any of you looked at MIDI, your own performance in MIDI, there are so many tiny details of human performance which makes it human. The note timing, the note lengths, the note velocities, the relationship to the pedal. It's very complicated, and that's why we love human performance. So coming back to piano rolls, even though they were very successful in the end of the player piano era to get something that was kind of a simulation, the reason I'm concentrating on pop piano rolls is because it's really a new idiom. It's not the same as a hand-playing performance. What the roll editors were able to do, even if they captured this kind of thing from somebody they quantized, they squared off, they added notes, it's a whole new kind of music. And you can't really compare it to hand-played music. It can evoke hand-playing, but it's not hand-playing. One of the things that we don't recognize today is just how the player piano was actually central to the music business from basically 1905 to 1925, before radio hit. When radio hit, it was over for the player piano. But it was a way of getting sheet music to people. It was still the last vestige of the Victorian era, where everybody played the piano and knew what a player piano was. And finally, when they were able to do these things called word rolls, which, let me see if I can go back. This, I didn't take a picture of a word roll, but what they did was they would stencil into the roll the words of the song, so people could gather around the player piano and sing along with it, sort of like an early karaoke. And that was a way of distributing all this new American songbook songs that were coming down the pike after 1916. In the Victorian era, women were required to cultivate keyboard skills to increase their marital marketability. All right, but the irony is these very skills found a workplace fit in the exploding entertainment field, and where the most talented women could find employment as role arrangers, performers, and even composers. There was such a vast need for content, huge need, that it didn't matter if you were a woman. That was a good part about this. As I said, the field of women in this endeavor is vast, and I just had to take a representative group based on their uniqueness, excellence, scope of their work, and their relative familiarity to the general public, musically active. You can go on YouTube, on my channel. I have dozens of recordings now of the roles that I got last year, me pianolizing these women, and you can hear much, much more than I'm doing today.